Great. Thank you, sir, so much for being here. My name is Paul Marca, and welcome to this webinar, Fireside Chat with Bill Jha. We're delighted to have you and host you here. This program and offering is being sponsored by Innovera and the Luminarian Fellowship. We're really excited about the notion around Innovera and its focus on creating innovation and moving it from an art to a discipline. And part of the journey is identifying key leaders around the globe, including people like Bill Jha, to seed the conversation, to understand and build a more cohesive and coherent story around innovation, moving it from art to science. So this is what we're all about here. Delighted to have you host to have you join this session. We know that everyone is very busy. And in particular, I know that many of you will have to get out, so we're going to try to get done by 58. As a former television producer and director, my goal is to at least be on time, if not early. So I get a chance to introduce Bill Jha. What an amazing rock star in the Silicon Valley. Bill is Google's VP of Engineering for core machine learning and AI. He oversees key initiatives such as Gemini, AI software and hardware co-design for Google, development in AI compilers and frameworks. This also includes AI training and inference software services and developer AI experiences. So he's really driving the efforts at Google. Prior to his role at Google, he served as Meta as VP of Engineering, where he managed AI infrastructure, data infrastructure, software performance, data science, and hardware engineering. So how did he get to these roles? We're going to learn a little bit more about that. But before we get there, he has a BS degree from Shanghai Jiao Tong University, one of the best universities in China, and received his MS degree from NUS, University of Singapore, as well as a PhD from Operations Research, Algorithm and Design from University of Southern California, USC, and was honored recently at USC as the 2024 Alumni of the Year for USC Viterbi Engineering School. So with all that, Bill, thank you for joining us. We really appreciate your taking the time here today.
Thank you, Paul. Very happy to be here.
Yeah, and as people are still coming in, I'm going to jump right in. So would love to learn a little bit more about your background, which is really interesting. So can you walk us through the journey of your background, in particular, how you got involved with AI and your current leadership role at Google? How did you get there?
Yeah, very good question, Paul. So my it's kind of funny because my major never be computer science, which actually for AI it doesn't matter computer science or not. But my actual major for my under is mechanical engineering. Then going to my graduate school, I changed from mechanical engineering to more kind of applied mathematics. Then the mechanical engineering, I learned a lot of math. So of course, applied mathematics, I also learned a lot of math, statistics and optimization, a lot of academic background, which I joined Facebook and Meta back in 2009, which is quite many years ago. Then in the beginning at Facebook, the company was very small, like 700 people, 800 people, only 100, 200 software engineers. In the early days, there's no formal team structure. Everybody joined the company. I got a chance to work on everything, like web search and the database and storage and the caching service and building ads, building whatever stuff, right? But then there was no like the current AI technology, but that's okay. I learned a lot of traditional like product technology, like search, indexing services, and storage, and web services, and storage, big data, all this kind of stuff. Then fast going forward to 2016, 2017, when AI really start to become a real thing. The real thing, I mean the AI, I mean the neural network, the more like neural network, the large language model kind of age. Then at Meta, we started to build, hey, you know what, if we really want to push on this, how can we organize all these efforts? then I got a chance to take the leadership roles. Okay, you know what? Let's organize the overall AI efforts at Meta. Then starting from, hey, you know what? How can we build a data center? How can we build hardware? How can we build all the software infrastructure? Then how can we support much bigger model? After model has been built, how can we train the model? How can we fine tune the model? How can we put model into production? Then that's when I got into AI. As a matter of fact, many people got into AI by those 2 years, start getting AI in these 2 years. Then as we get into the way, the AI keeps become more and more surprisingly more and more exciting. And of course, another dividing line is I believe that end of 2022, 2023, when OpenAI started to launch the ChatGPT. ChatGPT actually starting from 2.0. From 2.0, that really started to rock the industry already. That's in 2022, 2021, 2022. Then the really rocks the industry is the ChatGPT 3.0. Then they really can mimic how people think. Then all the companies start, okay, if that's really a thing, then how can we just 10x, 100x the entire AI platform, AI infrastructure, and also 100x of the model size, model complexity, and also 100x all the data we use to train the large language model. That actually opens the door to a new world, because model quality keeps becoming better and better and better. And yeah. Google I/O just happened in the last 2 days. We actually launched for Google. We launched the Gemini 2.5 Pro and Gemini 2.5 Flash. Flash is much simpler version of Pro, but the quality is still very high. And I don't know how many people have tried this, but you will be cheerfully surprised by the quality of the model, which that's actually yeah.
So let me just jump in a couple things. So that many people are still entering the room. Thank you so much for coming. And I just also want to give you a heads up that I'm asking questions now. Bill will do in a fireside chat here. But later in the session, we'll allow 10 or 15 minutes for questions from the audience. So I know, Bill, we'll come back to sort of maybe some key questions about that new model that was just released the last couple of days. But I want to probe a little bit more about sort of, it's one thing to be an individual contributor and to sort of have the math and science and engineering background. It's quite another to step into leadership roles and sort of drive really innovation at two enormous companies, Meta and Google. Can you say more about, I would call it that pivot in your role and the kinds of things that you had to adjust in your game to drive these great innovations?
Yeah, that's a very good question. So eventually, AI is all about innovation. Maybe without innovation, there's no AI. So in the big companies, it's actually very interesting. In the big company, AI is all about innovation, but because big company has many products to support, and the big company builds a huge infrastructure, right? We're talking about like tens of gigawatts, which is a huge amount of data center footprint. Then for data center and for infrastructure, we want everything to be very stable. And data center actually means for the infrastructure, traditional infrastructure, we don't like innovation because innovation causes instability. Innovation causes things become less reliable. So these two things mean in the past world without AI, so innovation and stability, scalability, and reliability, they're all on the same page. But after AI becomes a real thing, the AI really push on innovation, but infrastructure wants stability. These two things are very different. We have to do a lot of cultural change to change the mentality of the company. So here's several things that big company, not only Google, Meta, but also Microsoft and Amazon, the big company, we try to push on. On one hand, okay, let's building a dedicated team. This dedicated team, you'll focus on 5 to 10 years, very fundamental research. Don't worry about the next 2 years. We hire you, we get you, you're very good, top-notch researchers, then scientists. Think about 5 to 10 years. What will change people's life? And invest on those kind of work. That's one set efforts. The second set efforts is, okay, by the end of this year and next year, what can new innovation we can push to the markets, which can really change people's day-to-day life right now and in the next 1 year. So that's it, right? Then in infrastructure, in platform infrastructure, how can we change infrastructure in such a way we can move very, very fast, but with very reliable infrastructure? Right? So we actually have these 3 different efforts: 5 to 10 years fundamental research, and right now for the next 2 years, all the applied research. Then push all the applied research into infrastructure, into production, so we can see the results. So that's like
Yep.
right now and 2-3 years and 5 to 10 years.
So I just want to probe, and by the way, when people are just coming in, we're having a fireside chat with Bill Jha from Google, and save your questions. We're going to have a discussion, open questions at the end, which we'll try to moderate. Or if you have questions, pop them in the chat as we go, and we'll make sure to address those. But Bill, so one of the things we talk about in the Silicon Valley and in innovators around the globe is the big companies have a lot of friction, and it's always those small, nimble startups that often come from the Silicon Valley and other areas and pockets in the U.S. and Austin and Boston and so on that tend to disrupt. Now, you mentioned that infrastructure needs stability, and these big companies, OpenAI, is there a role for smaller, innovative companies to emerge from this? How do you see the dynamics, which seem to be flipped on its head? They have to be bigger, better, and more wealthy in order to make impact in this AI space.
Yeah, you actually mentioned something that's very worth noting. I think big company. So the advantage for the big company is big company has a lot of resources from the capital point of view, from engineering resource point of view, from infrastructure point of view, right? So all these resources give the big company all this foundation to build stuff, right? But a big company we actually wants to avoid this. But big company. After all, big company has a lot of overhead to deal with. Hey, you know what? Different orgs, how can we be aligned? That alignment sometimes takes time to get through, right? Then you have your priority and my priority. Then our priorities we're not in sync. Then we have to think about things. So all those big companies has the big company syndrome. I think Meta and Google will actually work a lot of things, try to move fast, be very nimble, but that's a different story. But anyhow, big company has overhead to deal with. Now, big company makes a lot of money. Then big company sometimes don't have the very strong sense of urgency and threat. Sometimes we have the complicity. Okay, you know what? Meta, ads make a lot of money. Google, you know what? YouTube and search make a lot of money. So like a little bit of this kind, you know what? Our life is on the line. We have to push innovation. We have to push innovation by next month. Otherwise, our revenue get very big deep. Right? We don't have this kind of very strong sense of urgency. Now, small company like OpenAI, like Anthropic, a lot of companies, other small company, because this is our lifeline. We really have to win this. Otherwise, we can get out of business. So small companies all in on one thing. Then many different small companies, they're all in on one thing. Then there will be certain companies are producing fantastic results out, right? Now, if small companies push out fantastic results out, if big companies are reacting very slowly, okay, there's fantastic results. Let's take a look. Let's follow. Let's get even better. If big company is not doing this, the big company over time will getting out, right? The key thing for the big company is it's okay. Small company push fantastic results out, but if big company is nimble enough, it's okay. You have fantastic results. Let's have people fast follow. Okay, let's understand what's going on. Then let's replicate this And even better, over time, very quickly, we can do even better. Then I think then big company, small company, big company has a lot of capital, a lot of engineering resources. They
Yep.
can do it if they can fast follow. Then
Yep.
I think the big company, small company has this kind of very complementary role plays. This like zigzag has different S curve, keep pushing technology up forwards.
Sure. Yeah. So one of the ways to think about it, giving this potential partnership, is that the big companies like Google and OpenAI and Meta and others are creating these foundational layers, these platforms on which smaller companies thinking about agentic AI might be able to take advantage, right? So is that a good
Yeah,
way to think about how the sort of
yeah,
relationship might work?
absolutely. So, so just now I mentioned just one model, which is a smaller company do the innovation. Some good big company fast follow and do even better. So that's one model. I do feel some of the big company, I do feel like Google right now is really waking up. So hey, you know what? How can we function as a small company again? Then let's not all the small companies do all the innovation. Let's do ourselves do all the innovation. Let's lead the markets. Because if we really have this kind of culture, can push things around, we can do better than smaller company. And even better. So that's a lot of if folks look at Google I/O, you can see in the last 2 days, we launched a number of products which are fantastic first-time innovation, which small company never has done in the past. More so, Paul, as you mentioned, big companies will be even think about, you know what? Only big company do the innovation. It's not sustainable. The big company, how many big company we have in the world? So big company do two additional things. One is open source stuff. You know what? A lot of stuff we're making, that's open source. Then small companies, because your lack of capital, don't worry about it. Take the open source stuff, which big companies spend a lot of resource, a lot of capital to work out. But you know what? Take it at free. Then building on the open source foundation, you can do your research, do your innovation much faster. But you get your innovation, I don't worry about it because I can learn from it, right? I can have more things to learn from. That's one thing what big companies doing. The second thing big companies doing is okay, let's even build, say for example, let's build the agentic framework, agentic platform, so that small company, you're building the innovation, the work become even simpler, right? Even faster, even simpler. So we actually encourage a lot of booming efforts in the market because the markets become, the pie of the market become bigger. Everybody, the pie become, a slice of pie become bigger as well.
Yeah. So thinking about the big companies, and we have many participants in the audience, some of whom are just joining here that are associated with big companies. One of the challenges that you face is some of these open models that are open source. How do I protect my data inside my company so that it doesn't leak, so that I don't have exposure to risk and so on? And I know that there's a movement toward, I'll call it company specific or sort of private instances. Can you share more about how Google is working with large companies to protect and preserve data and gain insights on the data set that they have inside the company?
Yeah. I mean, I actually avoid Google specific, but I focus on industry general practices. So the let's say either closed source model or open source model. Eventually, that's one model. Right? The model actually, after all, is a big size architecture. There is a lot of weights in the model. That's actually the real model. Now, the model, what can data used to train the model? That data has certain compliance we have to follow. Right? That's one. The second one is then the model actually become really good by training based on this model. The model has certain behavior. Eventually, going to production has certain behavior. Then this behavior sometimes, say for example, hey, you know what? Let's generate Taylor Swift, this character. Is that really legal to generate it, or that's illegal? That's become a pretty interesting topic, right? But right now, there's no absolute correct regulation coming out. So the big company typically is pretty conservative. So after the model has generated certain kind of results, we have a number of checks on top. So the results has to go through a number of checks before that will finally go to the user side. I give some simple examples. If the results is related to like hate speech, I mean, if let's say how to build a bomb, we don't want to release these results to users. We actually filter it out. Or hey, give me the first chapter of Harry Potter, of whatever the first book of Harry Potter. Give me first chapter. If the model gives the results very easily, then J.K. Rowling will be outrageous, right? Hey, I wrote this book, and I want the book to be purchased. But if all the large model you read this book, you give the results to the user randomly. This is a copyright issue here as well. So then the results, after a lot of filters, we make sure the results is a social norm compliance and the regulation compliance. But sometimes the regulation is not very complete. So there's a lot of gray areas we have to deal with. So that's so anyhow, in summary, all the data used to train the model, we actually make sure all data is compliant, follows compliance, and also results going out.
So it is really great, and I want to sort of thank people. There's some questions popped in the chat. We will keep that. We're going to have at least 10 to 15 minutes to try to sort of open question for Bill, and so keep those coming. Bill, I wanted to just sort of maybe shift gears a little bit in relation to some of the questions that I'm seeing here. So some might argue in this is the age of AI, and from your perspective, are we truly at an inflection point, or is this like sort of something that is a bit of a flash in the pan? If not, why not? And then are there implications for society that we should be thinking about in this, I'll use it in quotes, age of AI?
Yeah, yeah, this is a very good question. But of course, this question is very subjective. And by working on AI for so many years, I do really feel we are at the inflection point. We are actually in the early stage of the inflection point. And the AI technology will accelerate. Will only accelerate. So here's my mental model. So if you folks think about the ChatGPT, the first like large language model, first meaningful large language model, got released in 2020, late 2022, early 2023, right? And from then to now, we only two and a half years, really just 2.5 years, 3 years. But look at how many things got changed, right? Search got changed, how people interact with the machine got changed, and all the conversation got changed, customer got changed, the customer service got changed. So that's this, right? And the technology, fundamentally speaking, is all transformer architecture-based technology. I mean, transformer is one paper written by a bunch of Google's researchers back in 2017. That's new model architecture. And right now, all the large language model is primarily based on that model architecture. So what I'm talking about is that model architecture. So all the large language model based on that one model architecture only start to show its impact for 2-3 years. The products based on those results is in very early stage. Now, if you look at the industry, all the capacity, all the hardware is still going up very quickly. The data is going up very quickly. Then the model size, model complexity, and different model architecture also start to start to like show up, and also the growth will also be accelerated. Then combined with all this, the new model's capability, features and capability and accuracy were only going up. So that's why, right? The model's capability and characteristics, the powerful accuracy will go up. Now, powered by all this agentic framework. So what's agentic framework? Agentic framework is we have many different models. Different model has different functionalities, characteristics. Agentic framework give very easy way to orchestrate all the model together. Then also by embedding all the business logic and user-defined function, eventually present all this combination of models capability in a very comprehensive way. We're only in the very tip of this journey. So my prediction is everything in very early tip of the journey, then compounding everything together for the next 5 years and 10 years, things will keep changing dramatically. I'm not even talking about it. We have agent to interact with the agent. They learn from each other. So right now, agents can only learn from the data we give to them. But in the future, we have multiple different agents. Agent can generate data, synthetic data. This agent can learn, right? And then learn certain stuff. This agent can produce more data, and different agent can learn. So the learning experience will be doubled, tripled, quadrupled. So those agents' capability will become even more powerful. But we do need to control this, though. So that's I think that's I'm not scared by the potential capability of the AI. I'm more concerned by, do we have regulation to control this?
Yeah, so let me drill in a little bit on that. There are two common questions that surface here. One is, how are you thinking about AI taking my job? But part of my work is as a consultant, and I may not have a job in a month or a year or a week, who knows? And so that's one, is the fear of job loss. And then the second question is related, and what are those societal impacts and risks as these agents get out there? We've heard from some who might argue that this could end up, agents could be so smart over time that they could take over the planet. What are your thoughts here?
Yeah, let me think about it. So again, my entire talk is not representing Google. Right? So it's all my personal opinion. It's again, this personal opinion is very subjective. Different experts have different opinion on this. I do feel on the jobs. So I do feel many entry-level jobs can be replaced. That's just we like it, we don't like it. That's what be a fact, because the AI will be really good to recognize patterns. The patterns can be very complicated, but AI can be very good in recognizing patterns. So what's a pattern? Drawing stuff, compose music, drawing stuff, writing novels, writing programs. I mean, these are all very pattern-oriented works, right? So AI can do this really well, much better than human beings. That's just fact. So a lot of this kind of entry-level work will be replaced, mostly replaced. But on the other hand, I think a lot more jobs can be created, because AI, after all, needs to be made by people, right? So people need to make better AI. So how to make better AI? There'll be a slew of other jobs created to do that, right? So I think a lot of entry-level jobs will be replaced, which I do agree a lot. I mean, a very large percentage population doing this kind of work. But we need more advanced skill set to make the AI better, right? And we also create new jobs. I think so. The overall sum of the value AI provides will be overall beneficial. In other words, mean that maybe some people say, "Hey, I'm doing the entry-level job, but I may have to change different job because this job can be replaced by AI." But by AI becomes very popular, AI becomes really booming, the total value provided to the society will be positive, because even I change to a different job, but my kitchen table, my dining table, my the car in my garage, or my furniture in my house, the overall things will become more, if all powered by AI, my life become better. Even if I have to change my job, even I have to do a different job, even if you know what, I'm not working like 5 days per week, I only work like 2-3 days per week, but my overall life quality will be improved. Like that's that. Now
Great,
going back
thank
to
you.
the, go ahead, Tom.
No, please. There's a societal impact, the risk around or the regulation. Do you have any sort of sense about that?
Yeah, I think I do feel we do need so we do need regulation to control AI because, as mentioned, as the early example I gave, if AI can learn from other AI, agents can learn from other agents. If these agents were on the web, if assuming all the web are very clean data, very healthy data, the agents initially actually was very good, learn from the good data and very good agents. Assuming which is not true, by the way, but assuming that's very clean, the entire world very pristine, very clean. But initially, all the agents are very good. But as long as one agent becomes a little harmful, like produce whatever harmful data, then other agents can learn from this. If agents can all interact, other agents can learn from harmful data, can also become a little bit vicious, can generate some other harmful data. So then the entire agent network can very quickly get polluted, right? So I'm just giving this example. So we need to regulate how AI works. How we control AI. I think all different lawmaker, different regulatory entities, they're thinking about it, which is very good sign. Even U.S. government and the European government, they're thinking about it. There are more AI acts coming up, but I hope that can go faster. And I think for the big company, for the small companies, they actually don't afraid of regulation at all. They're not afraid. Because if the regulation, they can follow regulation, they can practice all the business. But if there's no regulation, that actually troubles all the big companies, small companies, because there's no regulation. I do certain things, but then somebody quickly jump up and sue the big company, small company. You know what? There's no regulation, but I don't know. I could not do this. Then you file a lawsuit against me, and I got into trouble. So as a matter of fact, for all the big companies, small companies, sometimes there's like misunderstanding to the company. Say, hey, you know what? The regulation will curb all the companies. No, actually, the regulations will support companies to keep going.
Yeah, so I love, by the way, Cash, thank you for the comment. Your biggest risk in AI is disruption could cause people left behind, jobs, and so on. But the big hope is democratization and the impact it might have in access to education, healthcare, and opportunities. I think that's sort of a wonderful framing. I want to drill in. First of all, we've got about another couple of questions, and then we're going to hear from Zamir Shuko briefly, and then get to this sort of the open question stage. But I do want to sort of, when you think about adoption of our AI at scale for large organizations, how are you thinking about, or how are you seeing teams overcoming some resistance? That's not the way we've done it. These are the things that we can't do. How are teams wrestling with overcoming the resistance that's natural inside of large organizations?
Yeah, this is a very good question. So I think there are two things. One thing is people are afraid of adopting AI, because if I adopting AI, I may lose my job. Right? Say for example, AI can write code much better than the regular software engineer. If big companies, the software companies, so you know what, let's use AI to write software. Then a lot of regular entry-level software engineers, okay, you know what, if AI writes software, I may lose my job. If that's the case, let's not adopt AI very fast. So that's one primary reason. The second reason is, hey, I heard that AI is fantastic, but AI cannot do things 100% with 100% accuracy, right? If that's not 100% accuracy, let's say that's 95% accuracy. but that 5% inaccuracy caused me a lot of trouble. It's very hard for me to debug. If that's very hard for me to debug, you know what? Never mind. I'd rather do things by myself. I can control things, right? So this kind of two different resistance. At least in my mind, there's two different resistance.
Yeah, that's great.
The first one, I think, I do think that's a real concern. The first one, but I think as long as the big company, as long as the people are highly educated, there's always some work they can work on. They don't have to really worry about. For the second one, not only for the big company, but also for the traditional company, manufacturing company, automobile company, whatever, supply chain company, I think AI may not be 100% accurate right now, but the accuracy of AI is improving very, very quickly. There are many different ways to make up that inaccuracy of the AI's results. So I do believe for all the corporations, for all the industry, get into AI and adopt AI earlier, because this technology is going forward very, very quickly. Even if you just learn how to adopt AI, even AI right now is not perfect yet, because as mentioned, the result not 100% accurate. But in half year, in 1 year, the accuracy will go up. Then if you know how to adopt AI right now, when the AI is much better, you have much easier life, much easier job to adopt AI very quickly. Yeah, so you can win over competition.
Yeah, get it in the system so that you can then adapt for the future. Otherwise, you will be definitely far behind. I have one final question, Bill. You mentioned, AI sort of launched with OpenAI's effort in November of 2022. We're roughly 2.5 years into this. If you think about the next, say, 5 years, where would you say we are in 5 years from now, or with AI and what's happening?
In 5 years, I'm pretty sure this conversation is going to be very, very easy. This conversation, the Bill just sitting here, I don't have to say anything, and I have just my image here, and you ask me questions, I can just answer all the questions very well. But I'm actually in the playroom playing poker. But all the audience here just feels like Bill just here talking, answer all the questions. I'm pretty sure that's easy technology to achieve.
So we won't need you, Bill, or me. We'll just have a couple of avatars who know us so well that they'll be.
Our life will be much better. Our life will be much better, because there's agents function as us on our behalf, and we're playing poker and we're enjoying life.
So I think as a former Division I athlete at Stanford, there's something about no pain and no gain. So I feel like we got to talk a little bit about that. But let's hold for now. I also want to flag one question, Irina. We're going to come back to your question in the discussion section. In a world increasingly shaped by machines, what do you think, Bill, will become more valuable about human beings? So I'm going to tease that question and then have yours other questions. Zamir, I'm going to turn it over to you to just share a little bit more about Innovera and the Luminarian Fellowship we're excited about.
Thank you, Paul. Exciting conversation. I can listen to you guys talk all day. But as you mentioned, this event was sponsored by the Luminarian Fellowship and Innovera, and I want to say a few things because some of the guests here I invited personally, and I wanted them to learn about what is coming up. So the Luminarian Fellowship is an exclusive collaboration between the Stanford Engineering Center for Global and Online Education and Innovera and a network of global partners. It's a year-long program that we're building to prepare and help the new generation of corporate innovators to basically work with the challenges that are coming up with the fast-evolving world shaping by AI. Now, what Luminarian Fellowship brings, we have put together something built on 3 major pillars. One major pillar is the learning component of this. This is executive education component powered by Stanford University, and we're going to be inviting the fellows to Silicon Valley in September for 3 days. It's going to be an immersive summit with a lot of content, a lot of meetings, a lot of great people. After that, we're going to hold 5 virtual keynotes similar to what you're hearing right now with top global thought leaders. And by completing that program, our fellows will be able to receive a Stanford University certificate. Of course, we want people in this program to connect to each other, right? So it's a member-only global network of innovation executives, C-level executives that are responsible for strategy, innovation, and growth in their companies. Now, of course, we will give them access to some leadership content. There's going to be a specialized online community built for them to interact with each other and support each other. And we're going to help them to directly engage with Thought Leaders Network with people like Bill and others that you could see on our website. And finally, we're very excited about the doing component. First of all, when people come and join us in Silicon Valley, we provide them full hospitality, stay at Four Seasons Hotel in Palo Alto. And of course, all the frameworks, the best practices, the methodologies that they're going to be learning, they will be applying to some large individual projects that they run in their companies. And finally, and I'll talk about this in a little more detail, we'll give them access to Innovate's platform to manage their innovation projects. Let me talk a little bit about what this platform is. Innovate platform is basically redesigning how companies are working with innovative projects. It's an operational platform consisting out of 3 major things. First of all, proven methodologies. When we say proven methodologies, is step-by-step approach in different phases. These are programs that are allowing companies, their top managers, move from vision into building business cases and developing those cases, moving that into the execution stage where they deploy technology and get market validation, and finally going into commercialization. We're taking this innovative project to the market. The second stage of this and the second component is the intelligence engine behind it. And we talked about AI a lot today. And the software that Innovate is building is a very complicated AI-powered intelligence engine, right? It will take all on the data, it will extract information, enrich it, it'll use different agentic AI systems to enrich, build innovation graphs, do qualitative analysis. It will help these projects to get the proper benchmarking, optimize the portfolio, and eventually it will come out to the commercialization stage. And again, the software supports all those phases that I just mentioned. And of course, this cannot be done without the expert network, right? We are combining top experts in the fields, best-selling authors, people who created the methodologies and these products in large corporations, the top VCs, etc. And that network is accessible to everybody who's joining us. So finally, my call to action today to everybody who joined us on the webinar is please scan this QR code, visit the website. I'll drop the link in the chat so you can look closely at what Luminarian Fellowship is offering. We are receiving applications right now. The early bird confirmation is by July 11th. And we're going to kick this program off in September. It's one of a kind thing, and we'll be happy if you join us. Now, back to you, Paul.
Thanks, Zamir. And I just want to emphasize really an important point. This journey is just beginning. This is like the sort of seminal moment of the internet with Doug Engelbart, if you know anything about his history, where they connected UCLA, Stanford, and one other location. And this is really exciting times. That's the first. The second, we don't have all the answers, but we think we can crowdsource the solutions, not using ChatGPT, but actual conversations to create creative results that will make a difference. And that's why we're so excited, Zamir and I, about the Luminarian Fellowship. It's our inaugural session. And I committed as moderator 2 things. One is to get to your questions, and 2, to get Bill out by 9:58. So we have 10 minutes, bunch of questions. We're going to try to drive through as many as we can. But I promised Irina that we would get to her question first, Bill. So maybe, Irina, if you want to jump in and just sort of shout out your question to Bill, we'll get going.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much. I'm flattered. Yeah, so basically, in the world where machines are increasingly driving uh, absolutely everything, right? We have AI inbuilt in everything. What would be becoming the most valuable thing in still being a human?
Yeah, I think my punchline to this question, very good question. My punchline to this question is machine pretends to be a human being, but machines are always machines. I mean, I work on AI, so a lot of like market, I say a lot of articles. Hey, you know what? This machine really can think like a human being. Um, well, yes, it pretends to think like a human being. It has been perceived as hey, this machine almost like a human being. But as an AI researcher, as an AI engineer, I know that machine is, after all, a just prediction model, a prediction machine. It actually does nothing else. It just producing tokens. But producing tokens, machine doesn't have a soul. Machine actually produces all the tokens, produce all the words and the image and videos by by summarizing all the stuff he has learned. So machine, after all, is no emotionless. It's still machine just predicting stuff. Human being has a soul. Human being has emotion. Human being has can really connect with other human beings. Oh, this is my punchline to you.
I'm going to just volunteer as you're a technical focused. I was a sort of a fuzzy major, techie and fuzzy, and I just have to argue that sort of art, architecture, these sorts of things will be assisted by AI, but not replaced by AI. So I guess I'm an optimist in this regard. I want to move to a next question. Thank you, Irina, for that. Chris, I don't know if you're online. Some may not be brave enough to jump on the mic, but I'm going to capture. Chris has a great question. With policy in tech lagging so far behind, why should the discussion be about regulation, not be started now with Google and with tech developers to understand alongside the technology with AI to ensure that it doesn't shift to the dark side? So there's a fear that let's get on
Yeah,
regulation now. And I would say that the EU is moved in this direction very quickly. The
yeah,
US has been less so.
yeah. I think it's actually a very good question. So there's two things. I do feel it's not like bragging for Meta, bragging for Google, but I do feel the big companies, by working on Meta, by working on Google, I'm pretty sure Microsoft, AWS have followed the same practice. I do feel the big company are quite self-disciplined. So we're taking all the responsible AI very, very seriously. We have very big org. We spend a lot of money to just make sure the safety and the compliance can be followed. Even there's no regulation. We try to be unconservative. We try to stay disciplined. That's why. But I think, the big company be self-disciplined is not be very sustainable, because a smaller company, they have nothing to lose. They can just try to push on something very, very out of compliance. We don't know what's going to happen, right? So in that regards, I do feel the um, governments at different level, if they can push very heavily on regulation, I think will be very helpful. The downside is the best researchers, the best people, they're actually working startup, they're working the big corporate, they're working the high tech companies. So governments, they're lacking the experience and expertise how to regulate stuff. Right? So that's actually stuff I think government and the practitioners needs to get connected, united to push on regulation. So I think there's certain activity right now ongoing, but I hope that can go faster.
Yeah. That speed will be important. I'm gonna jump to another question I liked. Elizabeth, I don't know if you're brave enough to jump on the mic and articulate your question live, or I can characterize it. Up to you.
Either way, either way, thank you.
Please go.
So, Bill, I worked in Asia, actually in Shanghai for 10 years, and I see how much, the workforce in construction, it's still so important. And also there is a gap between drawings and site conditions, right? While the softwares are good in the sense to fast update drawings, is it still has a huge human component, right?
Yeah.
But as we advanced with the AI, what I wanted to know from you, images are easier to be created and so on. But how
Yeah.
do you see this really being affecting the construction sector in a way that we are actually removing more and more people besides on the drawing side, right?
Yeah. 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 I think, yeah. So as using one example, I think AI can just learn all different construction buildings very, very easily. So every single building in the world, as long as there's data, AI can learn from it, right? The AI can learn from it. AI can get all the knowledge on how construction has been made, materials and the designs and the architectures and the structures. AI can learn everything. But Paul actually mentioned one thing I think that's very valuable, which is AI learn all this, but AI produce. Say, hey, you know what? AI just here's the landscape, and just produce and just give me a design for a new building, the architecture, everything. As AI can do this because AI learned many other different buildings, learn everything. AI can do these things very, very quickly. But after all, AI can only be an assistant. AI cannot be everything because after this has been done, we do need people, experts to check, to correct all the errors. Because building a construction, that's not something we can tolerate even 0.001% errors because we never know what's going to happen, right? So I think you're right. So AI can do many things into the constructions, but AI is assistant. AI is not a dominating. AI is not an architect, a fundamental architect.
Thank you. And so Neda, I don't know if you're on the line and brave enough to jump in, but you had a really good question. I'd love, and this may be the last question as we wrap up commitment to 58 exit. Neda, are you there? I think not, but let me ask her question. She posted, really, how do you think about potential private-public partnerships to benefit countries? She mentioned Botswana, but any other country that might be. How are you seeing that evolving to drive national agendas at various countries who need help?
So that means like big company to help different
Potentially,
country.
yeah. I think it's really sort of private-public partnerships is the emphasis here.
Yeah, I think these are not so sure because I'm not involved in the public, the company's policy level. But I'm not entirely sure. It's not on the technical side. It's more on the policy side. But I would imagine on the how to improve people's life, like medical research, and the geographical research, and the weather forecast, and this kind of the general, like improve people societals like the whatever impacts. I think the big companies are very willing to work with all different governments to make sure the every single country's people population life can get improved. As a matter of fact, I have seen Google's like our research org is research on the medical stuff. We have the AlphaFold, which actually this year win the Nobel Prize. We're investing on how to forecast the earthquake, how to forecast on volcanic eruptions. How can we forecast whatever weathers? We're actually working with many different countries to improve people's life. So at very minimum, in these regards, I think big companies are very willing to work with different governments.
Great. So we're going to leave it there. It is exactly 58. Bill, I committed to getting you out for something called a bio break before your next meeting. So thank you so much. I want to wish everybody, first of all, thank you for joining us, spending a little bit of your time. We're going to have these about once a month to try to foster the conversation. We don't have all the answers. We have a lot of perspectives, and we can build a collective intelligence that can answer some of these challenging issues as we emerge to this age of AI. So thank you very much. Good afternoon, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. Thank you so much, and look forward to seeing you next time.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Bob.
Thank you, Bill.